Imagine for a moment standing on the edge of a restless sea, waves crashing against the rocks, wind carrying whispers of forgotten voyages. Beneath the surface, hidden in the cold darkness, lie stories that were never meant to be buried. Shipwrecks are not just wrecked vessels. They are time capsules, frozen moments of human history, carrying within them the ambitions, struggles, and secrets of those who once braved the ocean. Each discovery is not just about broken wood and rusted steel, it is about lives lived, journeys interrupted, and mysteries waiting for centuries to be unveiled. And when these wrecks are finally found, they don't just tell us what happened. They often rewrite the pages of history itself. The story begins with the Titanic, a ship so famous that its name echoes like a myth. For decades after it sank in 1912, it was thought impossible to locate her resting place. The cold waters of the North Atlantic became a grave for over 500 souls. Families had only stories, survivors carried trauma, and historians were left with speculation. But when Robert Ballard and his team finally discovered the wreck in 1985, lying 2 miles beneath the ocean's surface, the world held its breath. The images of its grand staircase, now covered in silence and darkness, brought tears to millions. It wasn't just a shipwreck. It was the unveiling of a collective tragedy. For the first time, we could see the physical proof of hubris, of man's belief in being unsinkable. That discovery not only solved mysteries about how the Titanic split in two, but also gave closure to generations who had only imagined its final moments. But the Titanic was only the beginning of how shipwrecks could unravel history. Take the Mary Rose, the pride of King Henry VI's navy, which sank during a battle in 1545. For centuries, the ship lay buried in the silt of the Solent, preserving a Tudor world that no book could fully capture. When divers recovered her remains in the 1980s, they uncovered long-lost treasures, bows and arrows, cooking utensils, musical instruments, even the skeletons of the crew, some still wearing leather shoes. It was as if time had stopped the very moment she capsized. Historians suddenly had more than just dusty documents. They had the real, tangible lives of sailors who lived 500 years ago. Their tools, their weapons, their personal belongings. Every piece spoke of a life that once was, and every artifact carried an emotion beyond words. And then there's the story of the Vasa, a Swedish warship that never even completed its maiden voyage. Built to demonstrate power in 1628, it sank embarrassingly just minutes after setting sail. For more than 300 years, it remained beneath the Baltic Sea until its discovery and recovery in the 20th century. When it was lifted, it stood as a monument of both engineering failure and historical wonder. Unlike many wrecks that are torn apart by the ocean, the Vasa was astonishingly intact, preserved by the brackish waters. Walking inside the museum today feels like walking straight into the 17th century, surrounded by ornate carvings and towering masts. That single shipwreck taught us about naval architecture, politics, and ambition in Sweden's golden age. What was once considered a failure became an eternal source of knowledge. But not all shipwrecks are about grand empires or royal navies. Some are deeply personal, tied to voyages of survival and exploration. The discovery of the Endurance, the ship belonging to Ernest Shackleton, is one such tale. Shackleton's Antarctic expedition of 1914 remains one of the greatest survival stories ever told. When the Endurance was trapped and crushed by the relentless ice, the crew's fate seemed sealed. Yet against all odds, Shackleton managed to lead every man to safety, a feat that became legendary. For over a century, the Endurance lay undiscovered, lost in the icy waters. And then, in 2022, when explorers finally found her resting peacefully beneath the Antarctic seas, astonishingly well preserved. It was as though the past had reached out to remind us of resilience and determination. Seeing the name, Endurance, etched into the stern brought tears to many who understood what that ship represented. Not just a vessel, but a symbol of human courage against the unforgiving forces of nature. There are darker discoveries, too, ones that force us to confront painful truths. The wreck of the Clotilda, the last known slave ship to arrive in the United States, remained hidden for over 150 years. In 2019, archaeologists confirmed its remains in the Mobile River, Alabama. Its discovery was not merely historical. It was emotional, spiritual, and deeply human. Descendants of the enslaved Africans who had been illegally transported on that ship could now see tangible proof of their ancestors' suffering. The Clotilda is more than just wood and nails. It is a painful reminder of humanity's darkest chapters, but also a chance for remembrance, recognition, and healing. Shipwrecks like these are not about adventure, they are about truth, no matter how difficult it is to face. And then there are shipwrecks that remind us of lost worlds, of civilizations that vanished without warning. Off the coast of Turkey lies the Uluburun shipwreck, discovered in the 1980s. Dating back to the late Bronze Age, over 3,000 years ago, it carried a cargo so diverse it rewrote our understanding of ancient trade. Copper ingots, glass beads, ivory, gold jewelry. It was a floating treasure chest that connected the Mediterranean world in ways we never imagined. Before this discovery, historians could only theorize about how advanced trade routes were in antiquity. But the Uluburun revealed something astonishing. Civilizations we thought of as isolated were actually intricately linked through commerce and culture. That wreck was like opening a window to an entire age of human history we barely understood. Sometimes, shipwrecks reveal secrets we weren't even looking for. The discovery of Franklin's lost ships, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, in the Arctic is one such haunting tale. Sir John Franklin's expedition in the mid-19th century was meant to conquer the Northwest Passage, but instead, the ships and their crews vanished into legend. For nearly 170 years, their fate was a mystery, fueling myths and ghost stories. When Canadian archaeologists finally located the wrecks in the 2010s, it was like lifting a veil on a ghostly chapter of exploration. The icy waters had preserved artifacts eerily well, from dishes and books to personal items. These discoveries didn't just solve a historical puzzle. They brought voices back from the silence of the Arctic, voices that had been waiting generations to be heard. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of shipwrecks is the way they embody human fragility. Oceans are vast, relentless, and indifferent. The Andrea Doria, the Lusitania, the countless ships lost to storms, collisions, and wars. They all carry echoes of ordinary people caught in extraordinary moments. To explore a wreck is to touch tragedy and resilience simultaneously. It is to see a child's shoe on the seabed and remember that history is not just dates and battles, but people, families, dreams interrupted in a single instant. These shipwrecks, each in their own way, solved mysteries that books alone never could. They told us truths hidden for centuries. They showed us the cost of pride, the depth of courage, the cruelty of exploitation, and the brilliance of human innovation. Beneath the oceans lie not just ships, but the very heartbeat of history. Every wreck discovered is like a message in a bottle, carried across centuries, waiting for us to find it. And when we do, it is not just history we uncover, it is humanity itself.